Okay, so it's almost 6:35, so I will slowly start with the introduction. So welcome everyone again to the closing event of the mentorship program of Ladies.UX. Today we have two talks, one from a mentee and another one from a mentor and a mentee about their experience throughout this program. But first I will give a short introduction about ourselves. We are Ladies.UX, a global meetup. We are the chapter in Amsterdam, but we have way more chapters around the world. And we have the closest friends in Utrecht. And basically our main goal is to promote female talent and help women grow in tech and in UX. But we are inclusive to all backgrounds and genders. So even though you are not a UX designer or you are another type of profession, you are of course very welcome to all our meetups. And oh, why is not working? Yeah, we have the Slack group as well. If you are not part of it, feel free to join because we have a lot of interaction and it's a nice way to be in touch with the whole community. And of course, we also post here all the updates about our upcoming events, the next mentorship program, etc. We also have a discount on UX Design Institute. It's a training in UX, especially if you want to transition into UX. And we have quite a big discount. So go ahead and check it out because it's really worth it. And today, as I mentioned, we're in the closing event of the mentorship program, which was a 4-month program. But basically what it is, a mentorship program, at least for us, it's a respect relationship on a mentor and a mentee. And also it's about aligning expectations. So for us, it's very important to build this relationship with your mentor and your mentee. And from the very beginning, align on what you want to learn, your goals, and basically, for example, what you want to communicate with this person, all those type of things, and all that building at the very beginning is really important. Also, it's important that the mentor is available to the mentee. We always advise for bi-weekly meetings, but of course, in the meantime, there can be questions or something that can come up. So it's good if the mentor can be available either in Slack or in email, for example. Also giving space for giving feedback, and we see this two-way street. So the mentor giving feedback to the mentee, but also the mentee giving feedback to the mentor if something is not going as expected or if they will expect something different. And of course, setting advice and helping through the challenges, because that's the main course of this mentorship program, to help people grow throughout the challenges. And how was this year, basically? Well, it was again remotely, sadly, because we started the mentorship program 4 years ago. And at the beginning, it was mainly in person, at least the event. But yeah, since the pandemic started, we had to transition to fully remote, and 2020 and this year, it was a fully remote program. And it's the 4th year, as I mentioned, we have 90 mentors. Last year we have 100, but we have way more mentees, 165. And this was the first year that we have 2 different tracks. We have a fast track, which was focused on getting a job and preparing the cover letter, the CV, the portfolio. And this track was shorter. It was only 2 months. And then the normal track, the classic one, which was 4 months. And we have 124 matches. So we are really happy with this year. We matched everyone. We got less mentors, so we were worried that we couldn't match all the mentees. So we are super grateful to all the mentors that decided to participate in this program. Also, a lot of people that were willing to take more than one mentee. And yeah, thanks to them, we could make this happen. And this is the first talk that we have. It's from Alexis and Roman, and it's basically about the relationship and their experience throughout this program. So yeah, without further ado, Alexis, you can go ahead and share your screen.
I think you need to stop sharing before I can. Yeah. Cool. Hi, I'm Alexis, and Roman is somewhere. There he is. And this is a short conversation we will be having on our relationship as a mentor and mentee. And it's titled A Damn Good Mentorship because it was a very, very, in my opinion, a very successful mentorship. I don't know if Roman feels the same. But yeah.
I do, yes, it was really good.
Yes, you have to say that. Shall we get started?
Yes.
So this first question is for Roman. What were you looking for in a mentorship? And I think this is important because before you start any sort of relationship, mentor-mentee wise, you should be very clear on what your goal or purpose is. And so maybe Roman, you can tell us a little bit about what you were looking for when you started.
Yeah, of course. So I am doing mentoring actively since 2016. Really started with this when I worked at Tesco. Got educated in the GROW model. So thinking about goals and where your reality is, the opportunities to improve and potential weaknesses. And I always felt that I can give back. So we have heard this in the beginning, something that's very important to me. And I saw that they are looking for mentors for the Ladies at UX Mentorship Program, and I just threw in my hat. And in terms of looking for, I'm not actively looking for anything. I'm quite open. I'm interested in how people progress, working with them together. It's always a relationship. It's not just me telling something. I learn as much as they learn from me. And so it was a great new opportunity to get to know a person I don't know and see if this works really well or not. And then see where this journey takes us together. That was really the main intention. And I would be interested, Alexis, what you have been looking for when you joined that program.
I think also similar to you, I wasn't really looking for anything. With COVID, there were so many opportunities to get mentorship remotely. I think ADP list is one of them, but a lot of these were sort of one-off mentorship programs that you maybe have 1 or 2 sessions. And I was curious to see if a longer term recurring sort of mentorship would be helpful. And yeah, I had no expectations other than, I guess for me, it was some sort of accountability. I felt like if I signed up for something and there was someone else on the other end, it made it real. And you cannot just postpone whatever you were going to do. You cannot just skip a meeting because someone else is turning up as well. And for me, that was a very strong sort of to keep me accountable to my own goals and to my own progress. So yeah, that was maybe a little bit on my side.
Okay, maybe just to quickly add to this, what you mentioned, the one-off thing, I have the feeling I have experienced this multiple times in the past as well. And I think this provides a bad reputation for mentorship in general, because people are doing this maybe for the wrong reasons, because it looks nice on the CV, but you actually have to put in time and work with your partner on this. And so it's not just a one-off, it's actually a long-term thing. And that's how I see this. I really want to see how people progress. I want to learn about myself as well in that thing. So yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think contrasting my own personal experience of having this one that's a bit longer and the shorter one-off ones before, I think it's almost impossible to create that sort of trust with one-off meetings. And especially if it's like half an hour, there's no way that you can build a relationship that way. You can get maybe quick tips, but they're not for you. They're like very general surface tips that you could find online anywhere. So I 100% agree with that statement.
So Alexis, what was your first impression of me?
When the first Zoom call we had, it was so much fun. I think immediately, like, you can guess if you are compatible with someone on like a energy level, and the energy, for at least on my side, it was there. I remember laughing a lot. I remember finding it really effortless in a way. I didn't feel like I was talking to someone super senior, or I didn't feel like it was scary. It was, yeah, it was like you haven't spoken to a friend for a long time and then you finally have that session. So that was me, but what about you?
Yes, I think I also liked your energy. I can just echo what you said. I think it was quite effortless. I remember we laughed a lot, and this continued throughout the sessions, goofing around, joking around. Sometimes I just let out the German with a very harsh German English accent, and this kind of just cracked us up. And so I think this is for me is one of the most important things of what I'm looking for in a mentorship relationship anyway. It has to fit. If I have the feeling it doesn't fit, I can make it work, but it's probably not as effective as it is if there is a genuine interest or a genuine connection. And so I had the feeling straight away. I remember I came out of that session. I actually was quite pumped, and I was looking forward to continue that journey and that work together. And as we know now, after those months, it worked out really well.
Yeah, it did. And I think one thing to take away from that is it's a two-way thing. So I've been in like mentorships where it didn't quite match, whether it's because you are not quite on the same energy level, or if you're, one person is busy and the other one isn't. If you don't quite sync on that level, the mentorship probably wouldn't be as powerful as it could be. So that's, I think, something that as a mentee yourself, you should look out for. You have to have that gut check and to know, like, is this right for me? And if it's not, it's okay to let it go. It's not personal.
Yeah, maybe just to add to this, I had this with you, and I had this with someone else who I started with at the similar time in a different program. I was quite impressed with you as a person, as a female as well, and I thought this is someone who inspires me, someone who can communicate really well, who knows what she wants, and who's not afraid of saying, I don't know. And these are always things I gravitate towards, people that are similar to me in the way they approach things. And so I think this was quite important.
Yay. We didn't practice this, so a lot of this is like could go really badly. Okay, what do you think, reflecting a bit, what was the best part about working together?
Yeah, so when talking about practicals, I would probably say we've both been prepared or came prepared. We both knew that we need to admit or commit to the time spending this together. What I really like from you was that when we talked about certain actions, that the next time we talked about this, it was done, or you at least took the time to reflect upon this, write up questions of what you like, what you didn't like. And so there was always a progress in every little meeting. And if we set the meeting out just to have a generic talk, I always had the feeling we still got somewhere. And so I think it's important to mention that you have to set up regular meetings and you have to commit to those. If you have a stressful day or if something else with work or life comes in, you can always say, not today, but then you should really try to pick it up the next time. And so I think it worked quite nicely. And reflecting before this talk, what I really liked for me was that a lot of the learning for me, or a lot of the nice little nuggets and insights for both of us actually came through Signal or WhatsApp. So when we were just casually writing, I think this is also not to underestimate that a lot of learning or a lot of progress or a lot of exchange can happen there. It's not just the session itself. It could very well be on the site. And so one needs to be aware of this. What did you like working together?
I think, and this is a bit of also a first impression, the first mentorship session we had, the official one, Roman turned up with a mural board with like matrices, and he had things like he wanted me to score him on how he was mentoring. And for me, this was just, I love these kind of things. I love like giving feedback and having a metric system. So to go into a mentorship and to see that the other party is also dedicated to this, that they're not just doing it because, you want to put it on your CV. They were actually interested. For me, that was amazing. And we kept that up actually, I think, for most of the sessions. To be honest, I don't I forgot that the sessions were supposed to be 4 months, because it became sort of part of our almost weekly thing. So I forgot about Ladies at UX for a while. I forgot that there was actually like this formal structure around it. But yeah, that was the best part of working together. I think that you were just as invested as I am. And that's always a really nice feeling.
Yeah, so just to quickly maybe say to this, and then we can go into the practical tips. I think this works quite nicely, but yeah, I do like bringing things up and trying to put a metric behind it, because mentorship and this whole relationship is sometimes very invisible. And so I just, want to make sure that both are on the same page, that both are still happy. And sometimes you can capture this with a simple thing such as putting the session you had into a phrase and just write it up somewhere, and both would do that. Or sometimes people are not so strong with words, so they would rather like to use a number and say, okay, so out of 10, whatever the scale is, this was a great session, so I would rate it at 8. But having said that, I also had to learn that it can be quite off-putting if people are not as open to these things. So I had in a different mentorship program, someone in Lithuania, and I came around with the metrics and all these kind of things, and she was a little bit scared. So I think the first session should always just be listening and talking and taking down some notes, and then probably by the end, introducing that there could be a system to capture how the progress is going.
Yeah, that first meeting I think is so important, because that's where you sort of get a sense of whether you would work well together. I think most of us, you know yourself well enough to know if you like working with the other person. So if someone comes to you with like a metric system and this is not how you like to work, then probably that's already a sign that maybe it's not going to be a good fit. But I think being open is also part of it. Being open to like new experiences and new ways of working is also very important. So now we go to practical tips for a good mentorship.
Yes, yeah, good stuff. I mean, we already captured some of the stuff, and we have heard it in the introduction already. So you have to be mentally prepared. So be aware, be ready for those sessions. Be open, ask questions, do the homework or whatever you have really talked about that needs to be done. It's a two-way effort, so I have to come prepared as well. Or when we're talking about certain things in the session where I say, oh, you could probably check out X, Y, and Z resource, then I have to follow up and send this through. And so I always found with mentoring sessions that setting this up on a shared space, may that be a Google Drive where you just chuck in all this kind of stuff, or as we did it on a mural board, you have some sort of a space where related to mentorship or to those sessions, I can check down the questions I have. I can upload some of the work I did. Here are some of my thoughts for that application we can talk through, and so on and so forth. So I think this is quite important. Do you have anything to add, Alexis?
Yeah, I think being present is really important. Like something that really struck me was during this mentorship period, there was one of the sessions where Roman had other things going on and he was busy and he wasn't in the right frame of mind. And he signaled that to me. And we still, anyway, had the session just to have a casual chat. But I think that's important. If you're not in the right frame of mind to be in this space, you shouldn't go and mentor someone, because you could say something that hurts their ego or hurts their feelings, or sometimes words can be quite powerful. So that I really appreciated. I appreciated that you signaled that today is not a good day. We can still chat, but I am not in the right place to mentor you today. And I think that takes a lot of courage to admit. And I thought that was, for me, that was a very mature move.
Yeah, thanks. Just to quickly, because I have taken down some notes, have have a steady rhythm. We have had this in the introduction as well, and I think this helped us. So I had always this time or this place where I knew mentoring is happening. Then adapt to schedule or life. So if something changes, like I said earlier, you have to make sure that you just update yourself via Signal or WhatsApp or any messenger and say, hey, today not, but I could offer you doing it the following day. And also what I learned as a mentor, particularly, you have to be quite flexible. So sometimes in life, if something happens and someone is in a application process, you need to act quite fast. So, build in some time for emergency sessions or something like this, because people are then overwhelmed with the situation and they got feedback and it's positive, and now they have to prepare something within probably 2 days or something like this, and they're freaking out. And so you come in and then you can say, okay, so let's just breathe for a minute. Let's look at this and let's build it or break it apart and make a plan and then execute and then just do it and go about it. So I think that's really, really important, these things. Yeah.
Yeah, the emergency session. I had an emergency session. That was good.
And I had an emergency session as well, right? I remember that's probably a good example for the two ways relationship. So I also struggled when I applied for my current new job, and I was quite frustrated with one feedback I got from my interview I had. And Alexis was kind enough to just listen to me and pick me up and provide some outsider's perspective and said, hey, come on, just chill out. You're so good. You don't need this guy. Continue. And this is going to be great. And then I said, yeah, oh thanks. That's really kind and positive. And yeah, actually picked me up, and then we continued. So it's great.
Yeah, it's a two-way relationship. And at the end of the day, mentors are people as well. They are going through the same struggles. Maybe they're not junior entering the workplace, but they're also going through the same sort of things. So that, like, remembering that they're also human, maybe would make it like a nicer experience for both parties. Ooh,
yes.
This is easy. What have you learned from mentoring?
Yeah, I mean, generally, working with you, I had the feeling we had a great bond, was great communication, we had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that. So for me, one of the learning was that there's an opportunity just to have also a good time and getting to know the person really well, and spending time with them on their journey and trying to understand what I learned from this, what I can take away. And you also challenged me, and we had great thought exchanges where I sometimes went away and thought, oh yeah, I haven't considered that way of thinking about this, or I need to be less emotional about certain things. And so this is for me the biggest learning in mentoring in general, that I had the opportunity from being by profile an introvert, more opening up, communicating better, sharing, listening, and working with people. And this is the main motivation, really, just working with people, seeing where they get to, where we both get to, having little wins, as we called it, during the application process, having little wins. And so, it was a great learning curve for me, working with you. But what have you learned, Alexis?
What have I learned? I think one of the things that I didn't expect to learn was how much I would enjoy being mentored. I think on that little wins thing. So we both actually went through interviews at around the same time, like back and forth around the same time. And it was just a really nice feeling to share all the little wins on each stage of the process with each other, and to always have someone that is, cheering you on in the background, and no matter what, someone has your back. I think that is such a valuable feeling that I'm sure has made the whole process easier on my side. So that was something that I didn't expect. I expect to learn tips on how to do UX design. I expected to learn knowledge things. I expected very practical knowledge-based tips, but I didn't expect to feel so empowered and supported. So that was, for me, like a really nice plus there.
I can just add to this thought. I remember when you've been during in the application process, and then they came back to you and been quite positive about your application, and you started worrying in our call, what if I'm not good enough? And then I have this idea, but if hopefully it's strong enough. And so I think sometimes with mentorship, it's like you said, it's not just the practical thing, it's also the mindset change, or where you can help people just to step back and review what you have achieved. And I remember very vividly that I told you, hey, okay, just, relax. They came back to you with some positive feedback, and this means they want something from you. So you have this baseline now from which you can act upon. It's not that, you're not starting from nothing. And I think sometimes it's really important that both act in a similar fashion and say, okay, so, don't overthink it. Don't be too emotional about this. Just step back for a little while. Let's talk about something else and then come back to this. And so a mentor is not just a mentor. It doesn't really matter how much experience you have. It's actually a great partner, and you're working this out. Of course, if you have done this before, some you have a grid, you have maybe a pattern, some of the behaviors before, and you can say, okay, so I've seen this before, don't go there. Just take the other way. But yeah, generally both are working on this together.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Yeah, I remember that now. Now that you mentioned it, I remember that. I forgot for a second. Yeah, especially when you're in the interview process, you get so wrapped up. And I think there's the tendency to start spiraling. Like you at least for me, I started picturing like doomsday scenarios. Oh, they're not going to take me. They're not going to like this. And I think those sessions around that, Roman very helpfully just made me stand back. And so I think a mentor in that period pulls you out of this spiral and makes you look at a big picture, it helps you, right? It helps you deal with the situation. So that for me, I learned that as well. That was very nice.
You also had the benefit during that process that I actually recruited designers. So I know the ins and outs, and I know what a good question is, or I helped you to anticipate certain things. And I think you came over prepared, and then they didn't ask any of the things we trained. But yeah, that's life, right? That's part of it.
But just I think being over prepared also gave me the confidence.
Yes.
To answer whatever they asked me, because then I knew like, oh, whatever they asked me, it can't be worse than what Roman asked me. We already talked about this. Some wins. Yeah, you can start.
Well, yeah. So Alexis got a job, and so she's happy and works for a company with great products and something that provides purpose. And I also been able to get a new job. And I think generally wins for me was just having a great time, having an ally and a friend rather than a mentee now. A great win would be if Alexis continues with her newfound wisdom and strength, and then gets a mentee for herself to pass on the learned wisdom and practical tips or whatever.
It's like continues.
What are some of your wins?
So Roman did downplayed it, but he got a really, really good job in a really interesting place. I won't spoil it. You can all look for him on LinkedIn and try to follow at him. But I think that was a big win, that we both leveled up, and we both sort of were, not that we weren't happy, but we were both curious, and we were both looking for something more in our respective lives, and that we both stepped out of that and found new purpose, a new place to work. I think that is a huge win. I really think that was very poetic that we both found new roles together. So how can we make this better?
We can't, I think.
But this question is actually Roman's question, and I feel like it's very telling of his personality and his way of being a mentor. Even though we had, I think, in my opinion, really good sessions, and he always asked for feedback, and my feedback was always like, "This is great. I don't know why you're asking me." Every week I say it's great. So but he always asks like, how can we make this better? How can we improve? And I think that's such a inspiring mindset to have, especially when coming from someone who is considerably more senior than I am, to see that he never really stopped wanting to improve. For me, it's like, this industry is quite nice and people are quite cool.
Yeah, I think I started doing this at a certain time and never stopped, and it always improved me as a practitioner and as a human, and so it's a great thing to do. But generally, just some practicals, what to do better. Like I said earlier, I think the first session is super important, and I would rather now, with having learned over the many years and testing a lot of things, I would rather now spend in the first session 1.5 hours to really get to know that person and to unearth hobbies and feelings, and because this provides for me a great base. And then you can probably draw back in the time you're using for the individual session. So we most of the time we started with an hour, and then we got into a system where we said, okay, if we want to do, or Alexis actually asked if we can do this every week. And so we said, we do this on a Friday, and we have every week like half an hour, and then the fourth week in the month is like 1.5 hours. So we had this little check-ins throughout the week. Just sometimes it was just generic and just checking up of how we feel and how we are, and sometimes it was work related. And then the longer session was where she came with something prepared, and where we went really into great detail and talking about this and trying to discuss what to take next. And I think this was it emerged quite naturally throughout our sessions, but this is probably something I would take up. And then again, measuring, it doesn't have to be numbers or metrics. It could just be that we summarize it in a phrase each session, and that you always ask the question, are you still happy? And I have seen this over and over again. It's important to reflect upon the progress. And if you answer the question, if either one of you answers the questions with, no, I'm not happy, then you have to investigate. And then you can give yourself maybe another month to see if this improves. But with mentorship programs, there's sometimes not a great defined process of when this ends. And yes, if you have a program, then it ends at a certain date. But if this continues, you need to make sure that you're not spending time that it's not valuable for both of you. I'm giving my time, you're spending time, and vice versa. And so we want to make sure that if you reach a point where you say, okay, I think I learned enough from you, and this was great, and I really appreciate the time, but I have my job now, I have my life now, and it's kind of in its place, then you should stop it. And I had this during mentoring Alexis. I had another mentee from Lithuania, and we started off, it was really nice, and then she got a job, and it was very regular, and she learned on the job, so there was not really mentoring required, and she was just too anxious to tell me. And so this kind of went on, and I checked in regularly, and then I got frustrated a little bit, because I thought, hey, wait a minute, it's not that I have to remind you, I'm offering you this opportunity to talk and to collaborate, and I want you to lead it. I mean, that's my main intention, that people come prepared and say, okay, so today's session, we have 60 minutes, and I want to use the first 20 minutes for this, and the second 20 minutes for that, and the last 20 minutes for this. Okay, let's go. I'm taking the timer, and let's make it the most efficient thing. And so I think people need to be very aware of these processes and check in on a regular basis if it's still healthy to continue with this, because otherwise you're just wasting time, and it's not good for nobody.
Yeah, just be honest. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. It has to be really, really intentional. So yeah, we're coming to the end of it now. I just want to check with Sabrina. I think we went over time.
A little bit, but you can finish.
Okay, cool. So this is the end. And I guess this is an open question also for myself. Where do we go from here? So obviously you have a really strong mentorship experience. It was positive. We both got jobs. And I imagine for a lot of other mentorship pairings, it was also very positive. But then what happens? what happens after this?
Yeah, very good question. What do you think, Alexis? What do you want to do next?
I think like I would like some form of it to continue, but maybe not as intense as we've done it, because it is very time consuming and energy consuming. It's intense, right? But I also don't feel that it's right if we stop talking completely, or we stop checking in, or we stop this mentorship relationship. So from my perspective, it would be cool if it continued, but I don't know in what form. I have no idea.
Yes, we can discuss this in our next mentorship meeting. No, but I think generally it's important to say if this was successful, if the program was successful, if the goal you have set out for both of you has been reached, then this is a great milestone. You both should achieve this. Maybe have a half an hour or after work thing where you just talk and open up a bottle of beer and it's just about life. I think that this needs to be celebrated, and particularly in this modern times where everything is digital and where you can't meet up, it's even more important just to celebrate this. Usually as a tip for others, what I have tested in the past is if you have reached these milestones or successful endings, it's well worth just to have for both to talk about a break or a pause, and this could be 3 months or 6 months or something like this, and then pick it up and then review. Has something changed during the time? Is there a new goal I would like to achieve through the mentoring session? Would it be worth to pick this up again in a more regular way? But once you have reached this and achieved this, you just need time to reflect and just internalize some of the learnings and just take it with you. And that's why I would say it's fair enough, and it's very healthy actually just to say, okay, we'll pause it for now for 3 months or 6 months. That's really up for you to debate of what is a good time, and then pick it up later and review what has happened in the time. And maybe it comes out that the mentor says, well, I'm so neck deep into work at the moment that I don't have the time. I'm coming home from work and I'm absolutely exhausted. And so let's just, push it a little bit further back. But I think that would probably be good. And of course, keep the channel open with any social media or messengers or something like this. I'm always happy and open for this.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up our little conversation. As you all can see, we talk a lot. This is why our sessions are very long. But that's why you have to find someone that matches your level. But yeah, I think with this, I'm going to stop sharing and just officially and formally thank Roman for his time. And thank you, Sabrina, for organizing, because would not have found this mentorship pairing by myself, definitely. This has been an opportunity of a lifetime.
Thanks a lot, you, for giving such a nice talk and having such an honest conversation. Personally, I enjoy it a lot. I think I'm very jealous of your mentorship. It's clear that you both click and you both manage to help each other, and I think that's really awesome. Now we have a few minutes for questions. You can either put it in the chat or just say it. But I think we have one in the chat that I'm going to read. It's from Ross. It says, cool idea of the feedback, the micro feedback. What kind of metrics? Anything interesting to share as a mentoring tool? So I think this is for Roman.
Yes. So like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter what program you're using. You can use a Google Drive and then have an Excel sheet and just try to keep track on the dates you have met. And then in terms of metrics, that's really up to you. And I have the feeling, since I'm German, I probably overdo it. And I go into all sorts of things like satisfaction and return investment of time and all this kind of stuff, which is insane. But it's important. We are human beings. And sometimes I may not be as satisfied with the session, and I can pinpoint this down to, we have talked about this and I had different expectations. So expectations is sometimes a great measurement. How do you feel throughout the session? Was the session helpful? You know, have these open-ended questions, and you can either answer them with yes and no, like I said earlier, so like a 1 and 0 metric. And then you see if you always get yeses, 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 then it's healthy. Once you get a no, then you have to investigate and improve that. But those metrics are important, and it's just for you to make sure that you track it over time and that both are still happy. Maybe one thing that is easier to use is Motiv, so with double I at the end.com, and it's an app you can use on the phone, and it just indicates how you feel with colors. So blue is more cold, and then red and yellow is hot and burning, and so it tracks it over time as well, because after every session you can then answer this app and then track it over time. So it's up for you. Some of these services cost money, some of them are for free. So you just have to create a system that works for you on a consistent basis. Another thing I do on a regular basis is you could also create a type form or Survey Monkey and have the same questions you're asking at the end of the session all the time. And then Typeform is quite nice because if you create a scale, the maximum I think is from 1 to 10, 1 lowest, 10 highest, then it calculates this and it gives you the average out of this. So it helps you to do the data science in the back of it. You don't have to do this by yourself. Yeah, so you have to find something that works for you. I think that's the most important tip. I like Mural. It's very visual. We are visual animals. So as soon as you put something in front of a person, he or she can say, oh, yeah, that's right or that's wrong. And so we're already way faster. And the same thing works for the feedback.
Does it answer your question, Rose?
Yes, thank you. Just one follow-up question. You mentioned the tool of Motiv, no?
Yes.
I quickly Googled as well.
Yeah, Motiv. I put it into the chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
We have another question from Lucia. Did you start off with a framework on what you can discuss or go through?
Yes, you should. But again, my learning is don't overcomplicate it and don't make people uncomfortable, because you could come around and say, okay, so I've got this framework and we're working with the design thinking framework, right? So we have 5 steps. And at the moment we're in the empathize stage. And so I need to know everything. So I'm creating an empathy map now, and then I'm turning you into a persona to know your needs and gains and pains and all this kind of stuff. Your mentee would probably say, okay, where's the off button? Quickly, I have to turn this off. So a framework is helpful, but you can come around with an idea of how you would like to structure the session. But I always would argue that the mentee should drive those sessions. And like I said earlier, give them the task to say, think about how regular you want us to meet and for how long time, and write it up. So most of the time I give people the task to say, give me a little bit of your context, write up a couple of phrases, give me a little bit about what you have learned or done so far in the past, so I get some sort of an insight, you know. How many times do you want us to meet per month or even per week? How long should the session be? So you can address all those questions and then ask them to write it up in a little A4 sheet of paper. And then I can say, yes, I can work with that time that you request for me, or we have to adapt it. So you're probably aligning much faster in this way when rather than coming around and saying, okay, I tell you now how we are going to do this, because you don't know how this person is, and you don't know how this person flies and what this person enjoys or how this person works. So you want to make sure that both are happy with this. And as a mentor, I have the feeling you have to be much more adaptable to the needs of the mentee, so it's then successful. Wouldn't you agree, Alexis?
Would I agree? I think one thing that was really good with us so Roman did give me all these prompts of questions to answer. And one of it was like, what's your goal? And then of course there's the 3 months, 6 months, and whatever, how many years of goals. And one of my goals obviously was to be a better designer to help the world. Like super vague. And immediately he was like, yeah, I can't, that's great, but we're not going to do that in the next however many sessions. Let's focus down. And it was really like getting this tangible goal, which was for me like improving my skills, getting to a level where I was confident, instead of saying like, I want to be a designer and change the world, which has no outcome to it. Like, well, how do you measure that? So I think that for me was a good shift in mindset.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to this, it is important. That's why I'm asking those questions in the questionnaire when I asked it in the first sessions. Where do you see yourself in a year? So that's for me much more plannable, where I can probably help and support with either training or talking through some methods and so on and so forth. And where do you see yourself in 3 years? So I just want to understand with that question where people's head is, what they aspire to do. And then if this relationship continues as long, then I'm part of that journey, but I can't really foresee how this will work out, if this will work out. And so it's always nice to have a vision, but it's probably better to say, okay, let's stay in the reality and we have 4 months for this program, or what are your plans until the end of the year? That's always a question I like to ask because it's quite reachable, right? So 12 months, 11 months, you can plan this out. You can say, okay, every month of the session, and at the end of the session, we want to make sure that you have delivered X, and then you have 11 deliverables or something like this. You can make it very product driven if you want to. So totally up to you and to your style.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I think I can agree with the frameworks that they are very useful, but yeah, you should shape it to you and your mentee in this case. We have another question from Jenna. This is for Alexis. How many interviews for other positions did you go through before landing the job?
So I have before I was ready and then after I was ready. So before I was ready, I didn't even have a portfolio and I was panic applying to places. No portfolio, no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't even know if I wanted to do UX. Applied to a couple, but I think when I started the process of like being very intentional, this was the only interview I had. So I actually wanted to freelance, to try out different types of roles, to try out different design experiences. And I was quite determined to freelance for the rest of this year. But this opportunity turned up. Like I saw the job posting and it was in social impact, which is a space that I wanted to be in. So this is the only one. And I think, of course, it's very personal, like how many interviews you have to go through and whatever. But being in the right frame of mind and being very intentional about the places you apply to would help. I don't believe in mass applying because there are too many people and then it's a numbers game. So
that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
We have another one from Lucia. Do you want to read it yourself?
I can. So it's about differences between female UX designers and male UX designers, if I read this right, and what the Achilles heel is or possible stumbling block. So this is interesting, right? So since 2016, I'm doing active mentoring, and the successful mentees are all females. And yes, props to you. And I think females are in general much more open, much more communicative, much more reflective. That's at least, or something I saw with Alexis and someone else I mentored during that time. You're open for feedback, and it can be sometimes negative or sometimes positive, and you still take that in and you reflect upon it, and you always use this as an opportunity to improve, and that's what I really like. And sometimes guys are coming around very knowledgeable, and they think they know everything, and I think this already sets up a mentoring session to fail. And I had also to turn down a couple of guys in the last month since the beginning of the year because they came around and then they were just sitting there and were expecting that I tell them how to do it, but it's not my job, right? So I'm much more drawn to women because it's an open conversation and both are learning and both are having this equal exchange and both know that this will make each party better in their respective life and practice. And so I think females are ahead of the curve, and those programs are amazing to really just provide a guy's perspective, and sometimes also to make them aware that they have a standing, and that they have a foot in the door, and that they just have to use it in the right way with strategic communications and so on and so forth. And that's why I'm doing this in the first place. And so, yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for one last question, and then we have the second talk. And this one is from Nicole. So then, yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I have a question, but I wasn't here in the beginning of the talk, so apologies if you covered this already. But in my experience, it was a first-time mentee, first-time mentor pairing, me being the mentor. And I was under the impression that I had to come in with a game plan and like, this is what we're going to do. And quickly I read the ladies at UX blog posts, and I realized the mentee actually sits in the driving seat and the mentor is the support. But the mentee also wasn't so sure what we were supposed to do. So my question is, should we then collaborate on what we think is the best way to work and what the mentee wants to achieve? Or should one person step up and take the lead?
Alexis, what do you think about this?
Yeah, always, always, always collaborate. Always. I think what Roman did really, really well was that he made me think I was in the lead.
Nice.
Like he prepared, I think his game plan was all these frameworks and prompts and questions that make you think a certain direction or think of certain things. And then the thoughts, of course, are mine, the goals are mine. And so then I feel like it's my plan, but he very like strategically put you in place. And then it was only like, I think in the middle of the session, I look back, I realized, wow, I got played, but well, I got played well. But yeah, and I think that was a very clever, intentional way to do it, that you make them feel like they're in the driving seat, but obviously if they're a mentee, they don't know what they're doing. That's why we seek mentorship, right? So it's a fine balance, giving them a bit of agency and power, but you know.
I mean, just to add to this, so as a mentor, you should come with a framework or plan. You should be adaptable to the needs of your mentee. And you never really know what each session will be about. So you have to kind of adapt the thing. And most of the time, I'm quite vocal about this. I want people to really drive it, and I'm there to help. And so if they have any questions, if they're unsure about certain things, then they can ask me. That's why I'm there. But I want them to steer it. And the reason for this is that people are not learning by being told something, rarely. You need to experience it yourself. You need to put in the work. And this is what I say to most of the people when I have these introductory calls. You're not getting, I can tell you about all the things I know. I can send you articles. You can see all those videos, but you're not getting around doing it. You have to put down the work. You have to do it yourself to then get this experience to sell yourself as a designer or whatever profession you want to work on. And that's what I'm trying to push people subliminally, of course, to do. And so I think it's important to have a plan, be adaptable, listen well, collaborate on questions, collaborate on a plan, discuss sensible goals. You can put down all type of goals, and if you're not doing this in the context or reality of your mentee, being aware that they have a life, that they have other shit to take care of, pardon my French, but sometimes it is life, and mentoring is not in your head 24/7. If you then really create goals and aims that the mentee can reach by themselves with your help, then this is going to be super successful, and they're going out and conquering the world.
I like that. So collabing, always.
Yes,
Nice.
Always.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Alexis and Roman, for the great talk and the great conversation, and yeah, everyone for all the questions. And now we have the second talk by Hamza. So yeah, feel free to share your screen now.
Yes, thank you. Share. I think it is visible, yes?
Not yet. Yeah, now it's visible.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Gamze. I'm happy to share my experience with you. I'm going to give a short presentation and want to start it with a motto. If you never try, you will never know. I use this motto because when you try, you activate yourself, and I choose to activate myself and gain experience through this mentoring platform. And this experience shed light on what I really want. So this is my winning point. And before we start, I would like to mention the outline in my presentation. I'm going to introduce myself quickly, then tell you why I think ladies that UX Amsterdam is attractive. What was my goal and how did I achieve it? How was my journey and what was the outcome? So let's start with me. Who is Gamze? These pictures are real and they are from last year. They show the beginning of my new life. I am originally from Istanbul. I don't know, have you ever been to Istanbul? I moved to Amsterdam last year. I quit my job, took my luggage and fly to Amsterdam. And then everything has changed in my life. I did this movement to change my life, my whole life and my career. And before I switched to UX, I had already 10 years of working experience in sales and marketing. I used to work in a bank, but something was not enough for me. And I don't know, have you ever felt that feeling in your life, but it really makes you for a change. It pushes you for a change. And then I dived into an area where I can learn more about data and design. And I found a super interesting master program in Utrecht. The title of the program is Data-Driven Design. If you haven't heard it before, please just look at the description and the lectures. It was a very interesting program. It combines the power of data and design together. So it was a good start point for me. And here, most of us know the famous persona templates. So I created a persona for myself. So this persona represents all the clear picture of about everything about me. And I had no design background before, as I mentioned. So I had to start learning it step by step. And it made me realize I need a well-structured plan and a mentor during this journey. And because we all know that design industry is really nice to work, however, it's hard to enter. And even I think you may see that even entry-level job descriptions requires 3 to 5 years experience. So that also shows another point that in design industry, if you want to be successful, you have to commit for an endless training. So this kind of, I think, training mentoring platforms are really helpful for even mid-level designers or senior designers, because not just for the entry levels. So this is why I am really happy to be in this community, and I owe lots of things to my mentoring sessions. And I choose the long-term commitment to expand my vision in UX. It became a training program apart from my master's degree. The reason for choosing the long-term commitment is to get more benefit out of it personally. And to be honest, I like commitments. And according to my experience, I listed 4 main reasons why it was a great experience for me. First of all, it's full of surprise, because in the beginning, it's like a dating app. You don't know who you are going to match. And after the match, also, you don't know what is going to happen in every session, because every next session has its own dynamics, its own story, its own takeaways. I make it similar like, have you seen Black Mirror on Netflix? Every chapter has own story and you discover new things in every chapter. But it's a Black Mirror. So Black Mirror is latest at UX Amsterdam, and every chapter is every session. And second one, very professional. This community is full of professionals that makes the meetings high in quality. My mentor, Kaylee, she implemented design thinking approach in our meetings mostly. And that's why I feel like I had already put the design thinking approach before I just had a job. So the third one, sense of belonging. I am not hired yet, but with the support of ladies that UX Amsterdam community, I feel like I was working as a designer, because I am somehow busy and active in the market. We talk about companies, trends, failures, research methods. All of the discussions connect me to the industry. And by the way, this community is a safety zone for a person who is in the initial stage of her UX career or his UX career. And the last one, personalized experience. So during my journey, my mentor, Kaylee, was so flexible, and we set up a program which was tailored to my various needs. I had too many separate questions to be answered that lead us to cover various topics around UX. So every session has its own outline. We also go over how to write a cover letter or how to make network. And plus, I need a coach to know if I am on the right track or not, because meanwhile I had to do my graduation project. I was creating a mentoring platform, so I had some suggestions from her during this journey. And what was my goal? To level up, because I need an additional interactive sources to expand my vision, to increase the self-awareness, because I need to realize my superpowers, as you all do. Superpowers are very important in the self-awareness, and to have the full knowledge of UX areas to understand or decide which area I should continue. And of course, the other important reason is to be ready for the job markets, because I want to land my dream job, so I invest for it. And how did I achieve it? I am still working on my talents, such as working on popular design approaches, and also I am not junior, but I am junior to design, so I am transferring my background, my sales and marketing background, and combine it with UX design and UX research. And how was my journey? So we didn't create a UX project together, but we went over me as a project. So that's why it was so personalized and tailored to me. And it was full of discovery. It was really enjoyable. We enjoyed a lot. And I had many mistakes, and I learned from my failures during this journey. And we were so systematic, by the way. We had regular meetings and long meetings. It was really great. And what was the outcome? I think all of you wonder the outcome. So the most visible takeaway is I am no longer vague, because in the beginning of these mentoring sessions, I was unclear and I was vague. Now it's no more like that. And now I know what I want and where I want to continue, because my mentor helped me to figure out what I really want and what I really don't want. So she helped me to boost my confidence. And also the other thing that stays with me is the design thinking mindset, which I can continue to build up. And currently I am working on my weak muscles. For example, having design challenges to improve my UI skills, building my portfolio, creating my personal brand, and especially improving my job hunting process. So that's my whole story. And lastly, I promised myself, sorry, there's a plane here. And lastly, I promised myself one day I will be a mentor when I am ready. So please wait for me, dear ladies at UX Amsterdam community. So thank you for listening to my journey. That's all.
Thanks a lot for sharing your full journey. And yeah, for sure, you're going to be one day a mentor. And hopefully we are going to still be here. At least I hope so. So then, yeah, you will have your opportunity. Are there any questions for her? For me, I was curious because you mentioned that your mentor helped you to figure out what you really want because yeah, you were not sure what to focus on. How did she help you with that?
We actually dived into my mind map and my weak points and strong points. Actually, the project was only me, what I really want, because in the beginning I was not very clear how to navigate in my career, in my design career. So she helped me to dig everything and take it out the potential of me.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really good. And I heard it before, this personal roadmap that some people set up, and this really helps them to figure out what to focus on and what they want to do in their next job or something like that. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. So with my mentee, she also started with wanting to maybe get a head in her career, but later we found that it was better to just also talk about her personal journey and, you know, her personality and how her personality is helping her in a job and sometimes how it's working against you, like if you could say it like that. So my question is, how did you build trust between mentor and mentee in order to expose yourself and say that the journey is about me and not just about work and the role?
Yeah, actually my mentor Kaylee, she actually gives the safety because of her personality and because of the approach, not just the design approach, her life approach was so nice that the trust came automatically. So how, you know, because when she shares her experience or when she shares her opinion, you really realize that she's very sincere and she really wants to help you in every subject. Because we didn't just talk about design, we also talk about my personal life or my struggles in general. So that's the point. It depends on the mentor, I think, how she treats you.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think it's something that also Alexis and Roman were talking before, that sometimes you click with some people, sometimes you don't, and probably if you click personally with someone, that will also really help to build trust in that case.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay, so I think we can wrap up. It's also almost 20 minutes before 8, which is around the time that we wanted to wrap up. So again, thanks everyone, especially the speakers today, Alexis, Roman, and Gamze, for preparing these presentations, and also everyone for joining and everyone who participated in this mentorship program. I think, for the second year in a row that it was remotely, it went quite smoothly. We hope that next year we can do more things in person, but of course it will depend on the pandemic, but that's our aim, at least, that next year we can start again normally. And I think I would wish you a pleasant evening.
Bye, thank you.
And thank you all.
Thanks
Bye.
for organizing.
Yeah, Lucia,
Bye.
when are you starting again? Just to answer this question quickly. The mentorship program is once a year. So next year we are going to do the next round. We are going to announce it in our Slack and also in our social media. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, with some